Greetings, it is I, Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It's time to continue our discussion on Shadowrun. I was talking the wireless world and the Matrix. Let's continue where we left off and talk about commcodes. Now your commlink is of course going to have a commcode. This functions as your combination of your cell phone number or your email address, and a service provider is going to be basically giving you one as a paid service. Though there are numerous free and anonymous sites out there where you can get a hold of a illegal commcode very easily, so it is possible to not have to pay or get something a little more shadowy, and especially shadowrunners, hackers, and criminals. They tend to look to ways to protect their illegal commcodes and to get them and secure them. They're not going to want to use a public one for a lot of things they do. Now, there is a problem that once you have this commcode, your commlink is going to automatically be linking to your service provider. It's something that it's always going to do as long as it can connect into the matrix. This means it's an incredible way to easily track you. This link is actually a way that you can be tracked back to your location, especially if you're leaving a data trail, that they can use that connection then to track you back. For an extra level of security, though, you can pay for a special rerouting service. Effectively, what it will do is it will send your data through a number of nodes, extra ones, that will strip it of any kind of identity it has, strip it of whatever data it's carrying with it, and even kind of fake out what kind of traffic you're having, because there are traffic analyzing programs that can be used to analyze if you're having a certain amount of traffic in a certain area. Only the most skilled of data trail hackers could possibly overcome these. So generally speaking, you're going to be pretty safe if you're getting this extra service on your commcode. Now, many nodes will have passcodes, which basically are authorized users to access that node. So of course, hackers would overcome this and go around this. Passcodes you have to think about as keys to doors within a node. Now, there are plenty of nodes that have public parts of them. Think of these like a website. They're a public area that you can go to as part of the node. You would need your passcode in order to dive in deeper. And again, the hacker could possibly overcome this and go around it. But then they have to worry about the very security that might be triggering. Passcodes are basically opening doors very, legally. Now, passcodes can come in a variety of formats, in different ways that you can input them into the system. They could be something as simple as an alphanumeric code, but they could be much more complex. They could be a number of images. They could be movement you have to do in augmented reality. You could require some kind of security scanner to scan through your device that's accessing this node to see what kind of device it is, or you require some kind of special signature from a certain OS that would have to be upon your system in order to access it. But using these passcodes would allow you access to these doors and basically open up the way to where you need to go. A passkey is much more powerful. It's a special kind of encrypted program that would be needed to use in order to access the system. Effectively, it's a next level up of security that you would need, and you'd have to input it through the proper commlink or proper terminal in order to access the system using it. Effectively, if you don't have the right thing, you can't put yourself online through that system. Now, there are 3 levels of access that, generally speaking, a node can have. A node might not have all 3 levels of this access. It might only have the 1. It's going to depend on the type of node, but the much higher traffic, the more powerful stuff in it, more than likely it's going to have the multiple levels. The first type of account privilege, of course, is personal privilege. This means that you're given basically a private area of the node that you're using for your own, where you're putting your own data within it. Now, this doesn't mean that security can't overcheck you and move into your area to check it. It does. They can. It just means that you've been put into a certain area that you're giving a low-level access to some basic information that you're able to put into the node yourself and share on it to the degree that you want to. You're basically given a base level thing. The next up, of course, is the security level of access. This is what most actual security officers have, but also a lot of upper management might be given these access, that basically they can go in there and they can access most of the personal accounts on there and move through most of the data that's on the node itself, kind of moving through it and understanding it. They have a much higher level of access about the information that's on there. The one after that, the one above that, of course, is root access. This is the highest level, and you basically have access to everything on the node if you're given this level of access. Most devices aren't going to get into this level of security that they're going to need a root access effectively, but you can generally put one on there if you really want to protect your system much. Now, the thing is, when you're connecting with a node, it's going to have some kind of ID connection between it. Now, it's important to note that every time you're online, your node is going to connect up with a series of other nodes and create basically an ID that it's entering into the system. Effectively, what's going on here is when you're linking into everything else, you're creating a data trail, an ID. So you are connecting to the wireless world and showing people that you are, that hackers can use to track you back, or information can be found using this. That is why some people can disconnect their nodes, generally speaking. They kind of shut down that link. It's a security measure, or you have some other kind of security measure that protects you because of the fact that you have this kind of ID connection that's going on. So that's it for today. I talked about, of course, commcodes, the codes you need to connect online, effectively your subscription to being online, your cell phone plan, if you will, because it's your cell phone number and email address, which I talked about getting illegal ones and how you would use those to protect those. Then I talked about, of course, accessing nodes. And I talked about the levels of access, just generally from just sort of accessing in the first place, from needing a passcode to a passkey, just about the levels of security access that might be granted to certain players, to certain people, using the various passcodes and passkeys that they might need, to what level that would be within the node itself. I did talk about a little bit about the data trail that you'll be leaving behind as you're doing these accesses. The connections themselves are a data trail that you're basically sort of ringing a dinner bell for any hacker, either a corporate hacker or otherwise, to kind of follow. Next time, we're going to talk a little bit about, of course, what you're going to be using the Matrix for, and moving into talking about the hacking side of things. So if you have any questions, comments, anything you would say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. It shows support for the channel, the Empire, and the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you go check out my Patreon, link description below. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.